YouTube has changed my perspective on game collecting entirely. As a kid, I wanted everything, and prices were a lot more affordable. I got into collecting right at the end of when games for consoles like the NES and SNES were just called used games instead of retro games. I got in before a lot of the prices start to go really nuts. And nowadays prices are completely insane, but back then I was able to build up quite the collection over time. Obviously it was a lot of time that I had, and well, when you're a kid, all of your money can go to video games because obviously you don't gotta pay rent or anything. When I became an adult and I decided to move across the country, I sold pretty much everything. Essentials like my GameCube stayed, I'll never get rid of that, but almost everything else was gone. However, after I got settled in my new home with some steady employment, I did start to rebuild eventually. If you followed the channel along for a while, you know I built some temporary shelves for my NES games, and I had aspirations to go for a full set for the console. I capped out around 210 games, which is a lot, but in the grand scheme of collecting for the NES, it's only about a quarter of the library, depending on how you count it. Well, so a lot of my goals have changed since then, and I'm no longer in pursuit of that set. The main reason for this change in attitude is because of this channel, and that's really what I'm here to depict in this video, is how YouTube has affected my opinions and attitude towards collecting. So, am I ever going to do a video essay style review for every single NES game? Probably not. I mean, I love the console, but my bread and butter systems are the GameCube and the Wii because those are what I technically grew up with. Yeah, I did have an NES as a kid because I got curious and bought one on eBay when I was pretty young, but the games weren't new as I was growing up. Another huge factor is the necessity now that I feel to record everything that I play. It's hard to capture an NES off original hardware on a capture card meant for modern systems without it looking like absolute trash. You can tell in my Snow Bros video how much the quality of the video suffered because I was running the NES through some adapters that helped me at least just get it to be able to be captured, but it didn't do a very good job at actually getting quality footage. Even if I have no intentions at this time to review a game, I still feel the need to record it. Because, well, what if I need the footage to compare it to another game? What if I just need footage of any game for something else? And I've recently acquired a hefty 2TB hard drive to slap all my gameplay onto while keeping everything else on this other 1TB hard drive. So things like soundtracks and other nonsense that I may have needed to save, like box art or images, or my clip of the Ain't Nobody Got Time for That lady.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Lastly, perhaps the most obvious cause for downsizing is the need for space. It's a very just harsh reality that, yes, there's not unlimited space to keep all your games. Nobody has all the space in the world, and my girlfriend and I share an apartment together, and we're very limited in what we can store. We have this nice wall here of kind of all of our media that has a lot of books, DVDs. We do like our physical DVDs as well, and I wanted to make sure that my games were a part of this wall, but that they were also stored in a visually appealing way. I could have just stacked them all up and layered them and all that nonsense, but then they would look pretty ugly and they would also be hard to access. I want my collection to look nice in this media wall. I'll also note that my perspective on emulation has changed quite a bit since doing YouTube, and I'm much more open to forms of it. So, despite being more open, I still want a little something more than just downloading ROMs to a computer and running them there. I'm not knocking anyone who does that, and I like to have a little more and also to pose some kind of a challenge with it. I would love to get something like the ABS console, which is basically a modern NES from retro USB, and run emulation then off of an EverDrive. The cost of the ABS and a high-end EverDrive is still leagues below something like just owning one copy of Little Samson. And obviously with the EverDrive you can do so much and not just play one game. I'd rather do that than just run the games off my computer. I know that might seem a bit weird, but I guess that's just the name of the game over here. I don't know, maybe the experience feels at least a little more genuine if I'm using the ABS and an EverDrive versus just loading up the file on my computer. Keep in mind though, the ABS is something that I would consider a luxury purchase for down the line, so who knows if it'll ever happen. With the ABS, I could still play the cartridges that I am keeping. Yeah, don't forget, I'm not ditching my entire NES collection. I did that already once, pretty much, minus a few games. But I know from before that I do truly value owning things like the Mega Man games and the Ninja Gaiden games, even if I use the Switch or my PC to record footage from compilations or emulation. When it comes to things like the Super Nintendo, I did sell my SNES and all the games. The console is just way too expensive to collect for anymore, and the Switch Online library is really solid for it. Also, I have Chrono Trigger on Steam. I'm good. I used to have a lot of the good RPGs and some pretty expensive games in my old collection because I got them before they were expensive. When I started to rebuild my SNES collection, all I felt like was that, well, this isn't quite what it used to be, and it honestly just made me more sad than anything, so I decided to get rid of it. I have no desire to spend $400 on Earthbound when it's right here on the Switch Online library in a much cheaper and easier to record method. And ultimately, I will be keeping my Switch Online subscription for that convenience level of it all. So anyway, I could go on and on with examples like this. I am still building my collection, of course, but just with a lot more thought and purpose. I started really seriously posting on this channel just over a year ago now, and it has been an incredible journey so far. I absolutely love making these videos, and I do thank you all for being patient when there are longer gaps in between them. I do have a life outside of this. But just understand that even if I'm not posting, there's almost always something going on in the background with this channel. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.